Back in action. Welcome back to Stocks by the Numbers, and we're doing a quick update here on Super Microcomputer Incorporated, ticker symbol SMCI, listed here on the Nasdaq. Stock started to chunk down aggressively. Pre-market was trending all day, as you see, down to 33.07, down 16 points, over 32.5% on the close, continuing to slip after hours. Right now, 32.5, down another half point, roughly 1.7%, on the news that the auditor apparently has resigned ahead of this DOJ investigation. So let's look at some of the recent news and let's find out what's going on. So, first of all, it's just very unfortunate because, again, if we back up, you can see that the company started to climb up. They were raging. They were increasing their guidance moving forward. All of a sudden, revenue started to chunk up here. 2 billion. Look at that, 3.6. Then we get up to the high threes. Boom, we're over 5. So technically, we're slightly missing these estimates, but the stock was on the up and up, growing faster than a lot of people may have anticipated. And then, of course, we had the news that they were listed on the S&P. The stock explodes here to these new highs, slowly starts channeling down. And then that's when, essentially, shit started to hit the fan. We had this short report come out. And now, of course, we have the auditor resigning. DOJ launches an investigation. And I just have to laugh because it seems like we're really churning along with these catalysts for something that you would think used to take like several months or even several years to actually transpire, if you will. But I just have to laugh because, again, there were no issues here. We only had issues here. And that's why I say, again, in my opinion, I still think something fishy is going on. And people tried to cite that, this happened back in the day back in 2017, 2018. They were also found guilty of some, accounting issues or whatever. And we can see that the stock continued to remain in kind of like that 4 or 5 year consolidation range, bottomed out, and then since 2018, it's been on the up and up. So that's why even when Hindenburg came out and said, oh, well, they did it in the past, so we think they're doing it again. First of all, that's really just an assumption, right? I don't know yet if we have concrete evidence to support this. So unfortunately, even though it seems foolish, and technically the stock is down big from all the updates I did where I said I personally still like it. So of course, immediately in the short term, I look like a schmuck. But on the flip side, I still have to stick to my guns, and I have to say, technically, you are innocent until you are proven guilty. So I know this whole DOJ investigation was another kind of wrench thrown into the machine. And now, of course, you have the auditor randomly resigning. So it's just constant negative headline after constant negative headline. And the stock, again, was slowly channeling down and has now just chunked down really from about this 95 level mid-July. And now we're down here at 30. Possibly going to break this support trend line and hit new lows. I have no idea exactly what's going to happen, but let's look at the news. So, we're reading Microsoft earnings. Super Microcomputer share slump after accounting firm resigns. SMCI stock plummeted Wednesday after the AI server maker said Ernst & Young resigned as its auditor, months after the accounting firm highlighted concerns regarding internal controls over financial reporting. EY notified the company about its resignation in a letter dated October 24th. Supermicro hired EY in March 23 to audit its financial statements for the year ended June 30th, 24. The firm's resignation came while conducting the audit, the filing showed. EY raised concerns in late July regarding, quote, several matters relating to governance, transparency, and completeness of communications to EY and other matters pertaining to the company's internal control over financial reporting, according to the filing. EY said at the time that the timely filing of Supermicro's annual report was at, quote, significant risk This prompted the company's board to appoint an independent special committee that engaged Cooley LLP and forensic accounting firm Secretariat advisors for a probe into the matter. EY informed the special committee that additional information received raised questions about the company's ethical values and the willingness of the board's audit committee and the board itself to, quote, act as an oversight body that is independent of the chief executive and other members of management. EY said in the letter that it is resigning, quote, due to information that has recently come to our attention, which has led us to no longer be able to rely on management's and the audit committee's representations and to be unwilling to be associated with the financial statements prepared by management. Shares were down 30%. Stock still up for the year. The company said it disagrees with EY's resignation decision as the special committee is yet to conclude the review. Supermicro has started looking for a new public accounting firm, according to the filing. Should probably tap Deloitte, in my opinion. Quote, the company does not currently expect that resolution of any of the matters raised by EY or under consideration by the special committee will result in any restatements of its quarterly reports for the fiscal year 24, ending June 30th, or for prior fiscal years. EY didn't respond for comment. In late August, Supermicro announced an expected delay in the filing of its annual Form 10-K report after short seller Hindenburg Research accused the company of, quote, accounting manipulation. Last month, Supermicro said it received a non-compliance notice from the NASDAQ for failing to file its 2024 annual report by the August 29 deadline. The company is scheduled to release its fiscal first quarter financial results Tuesday. So, obviously, this sounds pretty bad. But as crazy as it does sound, in my opinion, again, I still have to say innocent until proven guilty. And remember, in the moment, everyone follows the trends, right? So now with this news coming to light and the stock starting to drop, all of a sudden everyone lowers their price targets. People are saying now that they're holding their buy ratings and whatnot and their price targets because they don't know what's going to happen here soon over the next couple of months, maybe, with this news coming to light. So now everyone's just playing the short-term news and riding the stock down. But I just find it very interesting that the company was growing like a weed since 2018, supposedly since the last time this happened. There were no issues. The stock explodes several hundred percentage points, gets listed on the S&P, then all of a sudden we have accounting issues. So that's why, in my opinion, I think that something fishy is going on behind the scenes. And a lot of these tech companies, even look at Dell, perfect example. Dell is a company that kind of flew underneath the radar that people may have classified as kind of that like old school, outdated tech. And Dell has been seeing an increase in demand, especially because of AI, and they're increasing guidance moving forward. I mean, look at all these tech companies and the rate at which they're growing. And also, again, Dell also got moved to the S&P at the same time that SMCI did. But there was no investigation, no one questioned about, their accounting or any issues they might have behind the scenes. So that's why, with all of these tech companies now seeing a massive surge in demand and revenue, especially over the last year or two, I just find it funny that of all the companies, SMCI, that kind of exploded the most, is now all of a sudden in the crosshairs for supposedly having assumptions that they're doing something shady behind the scenes. And again, depending on the magnitude of the situation, I went over this last time, instead of 5.3 billion, are they really bringing in 3.3 billion, right? That's going to be a big issue. But also at the same time, if something was forgotten to be filed, or if someone accidentally, misread a balance sheet and skipped a line and used, one figure when they were supposed to use a different figure for whatever reason or something like that, then at the end of the day, that should technically just be a very short-term negative, which, as we saw back in 2017, 2018, didn't hinder the longer-term growth of the overall business themselves. So that's why I'm saying it really depends on what the DOJ investigation finds, of course, but I'm of course very curious to see what's going to happen, because until we have information, it's hard for us to kind of predict and determine what may happen. But I will say here, you can see that if we go from this gap up here, you can see when we gapped up back in May of 23, just connecting along those bottoms here, cutting across, you can see that that is basically exactly where the stock pulled down to and then had a little bit of a bounce. So, wait, where is this line going? That should be there. So, if we happen to break this support trend line, then in my opinion, going into earnings, we could potentially see sub 30, maybe about 29.5, 29.60 it looks like. But we do have earnings coming out Monday on the 4th. Estimates on the EPS side, 73.4 cents. Revenue estimates now up to 6.457 billion. So that's what I mean. As all this negativity is taking place, of course, right after the company got listed, then it should probably, if they beat, should spike back up to like 50 and change, potentially even this trend line here of close to 60. So only time will tell, but again, in my opinion, people are making a lot of assumptions. And also, look at how much the stock dropped. So now let's say we keep the stock here, and we find out it was the same exact issue that they had back in 2017, 2018, right? Slight accounting error, whether it was intentional or not. I love how all of a sudden they're attacking the ethical values of the board of SMCI. I never hear that about any other company, right? We just did an update on STEM that essentially screwed over shareholders and lost them money for the last 4 straight plus years. No one mentions the ethical values of that board, right? But SMCI now is being picked apart by literally everyone who has a keyboard handy. And they're typing up reports and they're throwing out their 2 cents. Oh, this company's shady as heck. It's going down. Well, listen, it just cratered and went from 120 down to 30. So the stock is down 75% in value from the highs that it hit less than a year ago, off of what might turn out to be, even if it's negative news, it might turn out to be a slight negative, right? Everyone's just preparing for the worst without getting this evidence coming to light yet. So now, with the stock dropping even further, if we do find out, yeah, they, had an internal accounting error and it should have been this figure instead of that figure, that adjusts, last year's earnings to this as opposed to that, and it's a slight discrepancy, So now what? So now if the company is still technically strong, still seeing increase in demand, still going to see an increase in revenue, but we had to deal with this accounting issue, well, we just tanked the stock roughly 75% and brought it all the way back to the last flatness consolidation zone before it took the next leg higher. And again, we did a 10-for-1 split, right? So now we're back here. We're back at $300 a share. Stock was almost $1,230 a share. Now we're back at $300 before we started really moving along. So we basically just gave back all of the growth that it had throughout 2024. So now again, if it's a slight accounting discrepancy, isn't that enough of a pullback? Even if it comes out tomorrow and we find out, yes, they're guilty of this, this, and that, and, these numbers should be this instead of that. Has the company not suffered enough? And for those people who were saying, like, oh yeah, they're unethical, they're going out of business, we should tank them even lower now. Again, just remember, the same thing happened in 2017, 2018, and look at that growth over the last couple of years. So that's what I mean. This can't be denied. Unless, of course, again, I say that, they were nowhere near this revenue number, and we are dealing with literally one of the shadiest boards that we have ever seen. So until I get that kind of news, I have to continue to stay confident in the business that has been growing like an animal and is seeing a massive uptick in demand. And again, all of the tech companies across the board are seeing an increase in demand for the most part. But there was no investigation or issues that were questioned. There were no short reports that came out on Western Digital, Seagate Technology, Dell, Nvidia, Microsoft, Google, AMD. All of these companies just continue to churn along. Everything's fine. We spoke recently, again, in my STEM video, I spoke about companies like QuantumScape that exploded, that went from $10 to $130 a share, right? That's what I mean. All of these random spikes, all of these random stock squeezes, none of that is an issue. None of it warrants investigation. But the fact that Hindenburg basically said that, oh, they did this before, they could be doing it again. Now the DOJ launches an investigation, stock's down 75% from the highs. And I just have to laugh about it. I really do, because this was one that was flying underneath the radar. Again, I mentioned it back here at like 300 and change, saying, in my opinion, these are the stocks you should be buying. It continued to chunk up. We started, keeping an eye on it, doing a lot of updates. You guys were searching for it like crazy. It was trending like an animal. Got listed on the S&P. People are even more pumped. Here at this level of $1,200 a share, I said, in my opinion, 2,000 shouldn't be an issue, which from here is 200 after the stock split. But it's funny that after we jump on board and we're touting the company and their growing business and the growing demand and what could be coming 3-5 years down the road, all of a sudden it's a piece of crap that's doing shady business. Everyone's unethical behind the steering wheel, and oh yeah, we got to launch an investigation. So that's why, again, I know some of you may jump down my throat saying, you may not just understand the situation. The investigation is warranted. The company is doing, some shady stuff. Okay, fine. Again, I will wait for the proof and the evidence before I jump the fence. I'm sorry. But also at the same time, as I said, it was absolutely rock solid. And this was one, again, that was flying underneath the radar. It wasn't a main tech focus. And then all of a sudden it became like a trader's dream. People jumped in some out of the money calls with a month's time. The stock continued to climb basically every day. Kept getting good news after good news, price target upgrades, S&P listed. Now all of a sudden it sucks. And, all these numbers are fudged. I don't know. In my eyes, it's very hard for me to wrap my head around it. And for the record, I do not have a position in SMCI. SMCI, one of the most mentioned companies in the U.S. across all news items in the past 12 hours. But still, we know it's over the last 12 months as well. Server company shares were recently down 33% after its accounting firm Ernst & Young resigned. Due to information recently came to our attention, which has led us to no longer be able to rely on management's and the audit committee's representation. See, why do they also include the audit committees, though, right? Because SMCI brought in kind of like this independent third party to oversee the audit. And now they're saying they can't even trust them either? Supermicro said it disagrees with the decision to resign, takes the firm's concerns seriously. I don't know. Again, in my opinion, it seems very, very shady. And I don't want to go down the rabbit hole, but if we find out that, again, they were set to be one of the main competitors and leaders in the space, and they were going to rival somebody like an AMD or an Nvidia, or they were going to potentially start honing in and chunking away at market share of one of these other big tech companies. So that's why the investigation got launched. That's why I'm saying they're trying to label the board of SMCI as unethical, and we know essentially almost every businessman and woman that is behind the boards of most of these publicly traded companies are unethical and aren't necessarily quote-unquote nice people who do the right thing. So that's why to come out to SMCI the way they did, I'm just laughing about it. And again, it doesn't always seem that way as of late, but in all seriousness, technically in this country, you are innocent until proven guilty. So until the investigation is concluded and they say, yes, we have proof that this document was forged, this number was fudged, this profit margin or whatever was, double. They said it was double what it really was, right? You understand what I'm saying? Until we start to get information like that, stock is on sale, in my opinion. And I know it sounds crazy because it's just chunking down like crazy from every time we do an update. But again, in my eyes, innocent until proven guilty. ADP. What are we talking about here? Bitcoin. 5 days ahead of the company's earnings report. Yes, abruptly resigned. Hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It really throws me for a loop because this seemed like a company that even the whole time it was going up, we looked at the numbers and we kind of said that we feel it was undervalued and they were forecasting like 100% growth on this increased demand from the AI sector. And now all of a sudden, again, there's serious allegations from Hindenburg Research. I am telling you right now, I'm telling you right now, these people, Hindenburg, they better be right. They better be right. Because, in my opinion, if they turn out to be wrong here, I would dissolve that whole company. I would, if they told me the sky was blue, I would have to go outside and double check for myself. I would not take anything that this company says. I would not take them at their word at all moving forward if this doesn't actually come to light. So they better be correct with this allegation, especially, again, attacking a company that just had explosive growth in value and is now listed on the S&P. All of a sudden, you're saying that they're doing some shady things behind the door. Okay, we'll see. Despite Supermicro's assurances that these governance issues won't affect prior financial statements, the dual blows from EY's departure and the DOJ investigation have sent shockwaves through the market. Hindenburg's earlier claims and today's resignation have intensified concerns about the company's internal controls and transparency, with shareholders now questioning the stability behind Supermicro's growth story. I'm not, again, but that's just me. Technically, I'm not a shareholder. But again, based on everything I'm seeing, this is not an issue until it's an issue. The formation of a special committee to review these issues hasn't calmed investors, as today's drop shows the real-time fallout of this unprecedented crisis. Yeah, we'll see. Crisis. Right? This is why I personally always look at specific terminology that's used when we speak about some of these companies when they try to update you. Just like that one article when we did an update saying, should investors take profits at $800 a share? Did SMCI go too high, too fast? Is it time to get out? And then, of course, the stock climbed an additional 50% from that level and broke above $1,200 a share to hit new 52-week highs. So, just like Kramer saying SoundHound's a meme stock, and it goes from 4.5 to 6.5, right? So this is why, again, it's very difficult to try to sift through a lot of this BS. The company, a former tech darling of the AI server industry, now faces a major test of investor confidence. With a peak valuation of $67 billion in March, Supermicro's market cap has since taken a hit, making the next steps crucial. Investors will be watching closely as the company scrambles for a new auditor and braces for the DOJ investigation, which, of course, again, there's a bunch of shady, illegal crap going on behind the scenes, not only in business, but in my opinion, in Washington, in politics. But hey, the DOJ, they heard about SMCI, boom, they immediately jumped out of bed and decided they have to go to work, they have to look at this thing. Just keep that in mind as well. Supermicro's ability to handle these hurdles will determine if it can reclaim its momentum or if it will be a cautionary tale in the high-stakes world of AI-driven growth. What do you mean reclaim its momentum? See, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. If we really find out after all of this that, like, there was, $1.5 million on the balance sheet that they forgot to pay taxes on, like, that is not a big deal. I'm saying that right here, right now. That is not a big deal. That's why I am very curious to see what all of this, what the actual outcome is from all of this focus. Because if it's literally something like that, that is not an issue. Because again, I know we're talking about, a couple of $1 million, you think it's not an issue. Well, if you don't pay taxes on a certain amount, then obviously you're liable for that amount. The state could send you into collections, but it's on file. And, usually there's, like the compounded interest of the late fees month over month, year over year. And, when you can take care of it, you take care of it and you're back in decent standing. So that's why the way I'm looking at this, like, we're not even talking about like misleading investors or something like that. They're talking about accounting errors, which again, basically, in my opinion, I assume we're talking about taxes, which might be why the DOJ immediately, jumped out of bed and decided to do something. But I still say, in my opinion, I really don't think this is a big deal until we find out that it was a massive situation that we weren't aware of. So, and again, I'm not exactly sure what to make of Ernst & Young randomly resigning from the audit. I don't understand that as well. That's throwing me for a loop. And they also said again that the board and the outside committee, right, they can't trust, or they're misrepresenting things. How you bring in a third party independent auditor and now you don't trust them either, so you're leaving and you don't trust the transparent? Like, what the heck is going on here at this company? And remember, over the years that they were doing steady business and growing like an animal and the stock was slowly climbing, nobody had an issue. They got listed on the S&P, hitting new highs, the hottest trending tech stock on all of social media for months straight. Nobody had an issue. All of a sudden now there's an issue. So that's why I went down the rabbit hole and I said, in my opinion, Hindenburg may have, issued this short report so that someone else they know could buy at a deep discount. Who knows? Who knows what's really going on? And as I mentioned, for all we know, SMCI may actually be threatening a larger tech company's market share. For all we know. And somebody made a phone call and said, hey, listen, we don't want this company to encroach on our business. I need you to take action. I need you to do something. And even though that was just a generalized assumption, believe it or not, that is how a lot of business is conducted, behind the scenes, in quiet phone calls. So that's why anything like that comes to light, I wouldn't put it past them either. Again, they, who knows? They were encroaching on whatever. Dell's business. They were encroaching on AMD's business. Who knows? So a phone call might have been made. Hey, listen, look into this. We need to hit the tape with some negative news here. We need to launch an investigation. We got to bring the stock down. Because again, it seemed like they couldn't do anything wrong, and now all of a sudden, every day there's an issue. That's what it seems like almost. Yep, this is basically the same thing. I just want to make sure there's no potential manipulation and undisclosed related party dealings. Marking a severe escalation in the company's mounting challenges. See what I mean? Severe escalation. That remains to be seen. I am also going down the rabbit hole now, looking at the specific terminology that they're using to describe the situation. Again, nothing has come to light yet. It seems like there's an issue, but nothing technically has come to light yet. So for all we know, again, we might be wishing upon a star, but for all we know, the DOJ might come out and say, yeah, listen, the company had no issues. They've been transparent with, all of their documentation. We didn't really see any issues that arose. There was nothing unethical that was done. Investigation over. Now imagine if that happens. The stock's immediately going to pop 300% and go back to $120 a share? Because in my opinion, it should. Because you've been beating them down over one little catalyst, over one research report. Again, that was an assumption for the most part. And now, if that storm passes, then we're back to business the way we were. That's why I'm saying right now, I'm sure everyone is probably down big now in SMCI. The fact that it pulled back to where it was about a year ago. But also at the same time, until we have an issue, we do not have an issue. That's the way I'm looking at this. Despite Supermicro's assurances that these issues won't affect prior financial statements, Yep, we just read this. Formation of a special committee to review these issues hasn't calmed investors. Unprecedented crisis. It's a crisis. It's a crisis, right? Mm-hmm. Ability to handle these hurdles will determine if it can reclaim its momentum. Yeah. I don't know. Needham puts bullish Supermicro call on hold. See what I mean? Needham, which recently initiated coverage of Supermicro with a bullish call, suspends its rating following the Ernst & Young's resignation as the server maker's accounting firm. Needham last month started Supermicro with a buy rating and a $60 price target, saying the stock could be a value play on AI. But in a Wednesday note, Needham says E&Y's resignation raised considerable questions about the validity of Supermicro's financial statements, along with significant questions around corporate governance and management's commitment to integrity and ethical values. No one is held to this standard except SMCI stock that just rallied several hundred percentage points and now has a space on the S&P. Just keep that in mind. No other company, no one gives a crap about all the dealings and insides of any other business except SMCI that went from zero to hero. Just keep that in mind. Needham also says its own Supermicro financial estimates are no longer reliable. Okay, we'll see. We'll see. Any other news that came out? Maybe something positive, potentially? Conference call. Look at that. Largest drop since October of 2018, which is essentially the last time that this happened. And again, once they weathered the storm, the stock rallied, I don't know, 1,000% or more over the years since then. So just keep that in mind as well. Yep, everyone and their brother had to write an article. Yep, shares tank. Shares tank. Also, it's funny how this happens right after AMD apparently misses on profitability as well. There you go. Class action coming in. Securities fraud. Here we go. Between February 2nd and between February 2nd, 21 and August 28th, 2024, that is quite a window. That is quite a window. And also, if you bought back here, you're up significantly well. Even now, still. So I have no idea. I don't understand. But they're saying, again, previous reports seem okay, but yet for some reason this suit is going back to shareholders as of February of 21. Investors that suffered losses from SMCI investments can follow the link for more information regarding the suit. Well, realistically, anyone who only bought the stock over the last couple of months is probably down. Again, people going back 21, 2022, those people are up significantly. So I don't know what the heck they're getting involved in for. Well, they're going to put them on the stand. What are they going to say? Yeah, listen, my stock is up 680%, but, they did some shady shit. And, I don't know. I'm upset about that. Give me some money. I don't know if that's going to happen. According to the complaint, Supermicro and senior executives reported strong demand, surging revenue growth, and increased product shipments. Okay. The company also represented that it adhered to U.S. and other applicable trade control regulations, including the fact that it had made no sales in the Russian Federation during 23 and 24, and no sales to the Russian Federal Security Service. Are you kidding me? This is why this company is now being sued, because of the fact that they traded with Russia. Even though people still try to say that China is such a big threat and we have to keep an eye on China, yet I'm pretty sure Nvidia ships them chips, right? But Nvidia is what, 10% of the total market value now? And every time they report earnings, the entire world stops and holds their breath to see what they're going to report, but no one has to investigate them. No one has to go back and crunch their numbers. We saw the massive growth and demand in revenue that Nvidia saw surging over the last couple of quarters. And I also spoke about the potential red flag that I saw about shady dealings of the fact that these revenue estimates were significantly lowballed and just underhanded and tossed to Nvidia so that they can wind up and knock them out of the park every single quarter. But that doesn't warrant an investigation. This apparently is a massive issue. And I just love the obsession with Russia when, in my opinion, if you really pay attention to what's going on in the world, Russia, in my eyes, is not the number one threat. So the fact that everything with Russia gets highlighted, in my opinion, is a little silly. But of course, that's a completely different conversation that I don't want to get into right now. On August 27th, the truth began to emerge. The truth, right? That's what I mean. Look at this terminology. The truth began to emerge, stating it as fact when Hindenburg Research issued a research report titled Supermicro, Fresh Evidence of Accounting Manipulation, Sibling Self-Dealing, and Sanctions Evasion at this AI high flyer. So again, accounting manipulation, if they owe more in taxes than they thought or something like that, probably is going to be short-lived. Sibling self-dealing, everyone literally knows that America has become the country of it's who you know and not what you know. So to cite the fact that they're talking about sibling self-dealing with something like SMCI is just laughable. And also remember, even if there is a slight discrepancy in accounting and the company gets hit with whatever, a $50 million bill that they got to pay now, just remember, even if they are dealing within their own family and their own siblings, apparently it's working. Because the company has been on the up and up for years and years and years. That's what I mean. The company exploded in value. They were seeing a big surge in demand and growth. They got listed on the S&P. So whatever they're doing seems to be working. And I seriously doubt that we're going to find out, oh yeah, they didn't do, $18 billion in revenue. They did $6 billion in revenue. I seriously doubt we're going to get that kind of report. Because also, again, going back to my original point, if that does come to light, then that means that Nvidia, Microsoft, Google, Netflix, Airbnb, freaking Roblox, Western Digital, Seagate Technology, Dell, every single tech company then has to be investigated because they all saw the same increase in demand. They cited it in their earnings. They forecasted future guidance growth in revenue, all because of the same catalyst. So if SMCI is for some reason found guilty, then that should kickstart about a dozen to 20 other investigations into all other tech publicly traded stocks, which something tells me isn't going to happen. Which lets me further know that, in my opinion, I still say this is fishy. I still say that I am sticking to that until I am proven wrong. And I don't care if I'm proven wrong, because I'm allowed to be wrong occasionally. But I don't know, it's just not sitting right with me. In this report, Hindenburg claimed to have uncovered, quote, glaring accounting red flags, evidence of undisclosed related party transactions, sanctions and export control failures, and customer issues. This, customer issues doesn't really seem to be a big deal. Glaring accounting red flags, undisclosed related party transactions. Again, it doesn't really matter. I mean, are we talking about treason now? Like what are we talking about? Slipping Russia some information or some IPs, some patents? Like, I don't know. I don't know if I would buy into that. And I love how, again, everyone misses this. No one has an issue They crunch the fundamentals. They list the company on the S&P, but Hindenburg is the white knight of publicly traded companies and is coming to the rescue to let everyone know that they uncovered the evidence and they're bringing it to light. I don't know. I really don't know if I buy it. As detailed in the report and corroborated by a recent whistleblower lawsuit, well, we know what's going on with whistleblowers lately. You just have to look up what's going on with Boeing. So again, I don't know how much weight to put into all of this. These accounting manipulations included the improper recognition of revenue, the recognition of incomplete sales, channel stuffing, and the circumvention of internal accounting controls. Hindenburg also reported that SMCI has evaded U.S. export controls and had shipped approximately 210 million, which is a drop in the bucket when we're talking about billions, right? Approximately 210 million of products to Russia between February 22 and June 24. So again, we're trying to put a lot of weight on this supposed Russia transaction, again, of only about 200 million, but NVIDIA, and of course I'm getting a phone call in the middle of the video, but NVIDIA can apparently ship chips to China. That's all okay. We talk about how important something like Taiwan Semiconductor is to global semiconductor production. But, as China moves in and potentially starts to encroach into Taiwan, that's not an issue. We can still trade and do business with China. But apparently, again, supposedly 200 million worth of product went to Russia. And, that's an issue. So that's why now, is this really the issue? And they're just trying to say that, oh yeah, there's nepotism. Oh yeah, there's accounting issues. Oh, and by the way, they shipped some product to Russia during this time frame. So that's what I mean. Is this really the main go-to issue now? This Russia problem? Because again, even in my opinion, I think it should be short-lived. I still don't think that's a big issue. Especially when you compare it, like I said, to the other trades and business done by other large tech companies. Yep, stock is down. Then on August, Supermicro announced it would not be timely filing its Form 10K. Well, of course, you just turn the company upside down. They're getting class action lawsuits. They're getting calls from the DOJ. Right? Freaking computer terminals are being seized and crap. It's like the scene out of Armageddon, right? When the government comes in, just takes over everything. That's what we're dealing with here now. So yeah, if I was SMCI, I literally wouldn't do a freaking thing. Because also, in all fairness, what can you do? But yeah, stock is down. Oh yeah, if you want to participate, Yep. And again, if you have substantial losses, look at this. They're saying February 21. Stock was at $30, right? If we go before the 10-for-1 split, stock was at $30 and ran up to $1,230. But if you bought here in 21 and 22, you're allowed to sue the company now? How the heck does that make sense? Truly amazing. Truly amazing. Western Digital. Oh, look, Q1 surpassed estimate. Where's the investigation? Where's the investigation? Western Digital was viewed as old school, outdated dinosaur HDD hard drive technology, right? Now, I'm sure they've made some shifts and some transitions over the last couple of years, but revenue of $4.1 billion. Look, that's almost the same as what we're seeing from SMCI. It was, look, a quarter ago, it was expected that this maker of hard drives for businesses and personal computers would post earnings of $1.26 a share when it actually produced earnings of $1.44. Where's the investigation? Oh, wait, do we have to wait for the stock to rage and then get moved over to a different index before we launch an investigation? So that we can beat it up, drop the stock 80% in value, so that all of our friends and family could take a position. 4.1 billion for the quarter. Storage devices compares a year ago revenue of 275 billion. So this segment alone is up 50% year over year. Where's the investigation? This is what I mean. If we're going to hold people accountable and we're going to start ripping into and investigating all of these companies, again, I understand SMCI is in the crosshair right now, but with all due respect, there was a crap ton of companies reporting and doing and showing the same exact type of crap years before SMCI started gaining momentum. Where are those investigations? I guess everyone who needs to own it already owns it. I can't even read the rest of this article. I'm just going to upset myself. Anything else come out recently? Nope. Now we have just a bunch of class action lawsuits now. Coinbase, there you go. Another perfect example, right? This is a company that makes money off of you buying and selling Bitcoin. And their revenue dropped significantly, but the market cap kept climbing. You remember when I did that update video a while back? Where's the investigation? Nvidia hits all-time highs as analysts bend over and hand them lowball estimates for the last, 7, 8 quarters in a row that they're able to knock out of the park and make it seem like they're better than they are. I will remind you again, as much as you want to hate me for my Nvidia talk, I will remind everyone that before the massive AI surge and demand explosion, this company was doing about $30 billion in annual revenue and had a $1 trillion market cap at the time. Okay, just keep that in mind. No investigation, though. And that whole argument of, well, they did it years ago, so they're probably doing it again, very hard for me to buy into something like that. Right? Everyone's paying attention now to the World Series, right? The Yankees are losing. They're about to lose the World Series. But if I look at past performance, I can say, well, the Yankees have what, 26 rings, 27 rings, so they're probably going to win. Like, you understand what I'm saying? Like, to make those types of connections isn't feasible, in my opinion. Oh, they did it before. They're probably doing it again. That's a wild assumption to just put out there and drop the stock 70, 80%. Supermicro expands liquid-cooled AI servers with NVIDIA power. Here we go. Actual business update. Whoop. Supermicro's latest offering, powered by NVIDIA GB200 NVL72 platform, introduces a highly energy-efficient system designed to meet the increasing energy demands of AI infrastructures. This solution, which supports exascale computing in a single rack, has shipped samples to select customers, with full-scale production slated for the late fourth quarter of 24. Supermicro is also ready for production with its recently announced X14 and H14 liquid-cooled systems and 10U air-cooled systems, which support the NVIDIA HGX B200 8 GPU system. Wow, what a piece of crap shady company, am I right? I don't know. I don't get it. These systems are part of a broader effort by the company to expand its liquid-cooled infrastructure solutions to provide enhanced computational power and energy efficiency for AI projects specifically. According to Supermicro CEO, the company has shipped over 2,000 liquid-cooled racks since June of 24. And it's funny, as SMCI is chunking down, NVIDIA is chunking up. So they're working with NVIDIA with AI cooling tech that they've been rolling out that seems to have decent demand, that they're looking for bigger and better future growth in revenue from, but now all of a sudden the company gets investigated. So I'm going to say this. I'm going to go out on a limb and say this right now. In my opinion, this is all nonsense. They are beating this company up. They're going to completely drop it down in valuation. Then, in my opinion, I expect NVIDIA to step in, save the day, and try to absorb the company for a massive discounted price after it should be, 5, 10 times higher than where it is now. And I think that obviously once that happens, the stock will explode. They'll absorb SMCI and, of course, consistently, slowly take over the world even further, in my opinion. That is what I am personally expecting to happen between SMCI and NVIDIA, based on what I'm personally reading here. Integrates 72 NVIDIA GPUs and CPUs, single rack. Just remember, if it sucked and they were over pumping the hypeness and the efficiency of it, guess what? NVIDIA probably wouldn't put in a big order and continue to work with them, right? Let's call it like it is. Supermicro also launched a new high-performance storage system for AI training, inference, and HPC high-performance computing workloads. The Just a Bunch of Flash system integrates NVIDIA BlueField 3 data processing units into a 2U form factor, offering advanced storage and networking features that support software-defined storage workloads. This innovation includes capabilities such as encryption, compression, erasure coding, and AI storage expansion. Wow, what a piece of crap company. New dual port delivers active-active clustering, critical scale-up storage, and scale-out storage. Last week, Supermicro deployed over 100,000 GPUs with liquid cooling solutions for some of the largest AI factories and other cloud service providers. But I thought they were fudging the demand. So while we make the assumption that these numbers aren't real, they don't have the demand, they're telling us that they have the demand and they're shipping freaking 6 figures worth of units. That's why I'm saying, I don't know. I don't know if I buy into this whole Hindenburg nonsense. At the same time, the company has battled with regulatory attention from the U.S. Department of Justice following Hindenburg's research short report. Question. They also said the same thing about Roblox, did they not? Did the DOJ launch an investigation? A little something to think about. The report flagged the company's inappropriate revenue recognition policies and the rehiring of employees charged with past accounting violations. Ooh. Well, guess what? Just remember, if they weren't allowed to do it, then probably they wouldn't have done it. But also, more importantly, the second it was done, it would have been an issue. Right? Now you're coming back years later saying, oh, that guy had an issue, but they rehired him. I don't know. I don't know. It doesn't make logical sense to me. But again, that's just me. Needham analysts praised the AI server company as a pioneer in rack-level liquid cooling solutions, right? This was Needham, again, who initiated buy rating $60 price target and has now pulled that back and put that on hold on this news of the auditor resigning. Right? But just a week ago, they were phenomenal. They were praising them. They were praising them. Anything else? Yep, class action. Yeah, it seems like, again, we have our highlights of the growing demand and the big shipments that they're putting out. And while at the same time, we're hearing that, oh, this is all BS and none of this is real. I don't know. I don't know if I really buy into it. And again, I will still stick to my analysis and say personally that until this company is proven guilty, they are innocent. Palantir, again, massively overvalued. No one has to investigate them, though. That's fine. Jim Cramer likes Reddit very much. There you go. Then that's what I mean. Reddit, what? It was up like 40% today, right? Where's the investigation? And I understand I'm throwing a lot out there, but in all seriousness, no one else is doing anything shady. No other board is unethical business practices, right? Nothing like that. no one else might be pumping up demand that they're relaying to the public a little more than they might be seeing, right? No one else has ever hired a friend of a friend, a friend of the family, a family member, right? That's what you expect me to believe. Only SMCI is guilty of these actions. Okay, we'll see. Because again, as I said, in my opinion, if we find out tomorrow that the investigation is concluded and the company did no wrongdoing, the stock should go here. That's more of a fact, really, than an opinion. But we'll see. Stock looks vulnerable. Yeah, I bet it does. I bet it does. But apparently we don't know if these numbers are real, but let's recheck them real quick. So the market cap's now down to 19.3 billion with a PE of sub 25, which is a joke at the rate at which this company was growing. Look at this. Just missed EPS for the first time in a while. Revenue goes from 7 billion to almost 15 billion. Expecting what, like 28, 30 billion, I think, for now this year coming up. But all of a sudden, this isn't real. I don't know. I don't know if I buy into this. 217 billion, and of course I'm getting a phone call again. 2.17 billion, cash 167, that's negative half a billion. Assets significantly outweighing liabilities. Equity here 5.5 billion plus that half a billion brings us to about 6 billion. And then we see that the company did 15 billion plus profit of 1 billion, so that's 16.25 billion plus 6 billion. In my opinion, puts fair value of this business at $22 billion. Current market cap 19.3 billion. Current market cap 19.3 billion. Look at that. Nice growth over the years. And supposedly, we are citing a $200 million trade with Russia, apparently. Again, China getting shipped chips, not an issue. The fact that Biden undid everything that Trump did in regards to oil and gas, and oil per barrel went from sub $40 instantly up to over $100 a barrel, which, if you know, you know, that obviously helps out those guys over in the Middle East and Putin in Russia, right? All of that is okay. But if SMCI, again, did a trade with Russia for 200 million, that's an issue. We have to burn them at the stake. But again, in the technicals, we could see a drop here. If we do happen to gap down, you're looking at about 17, low 17s potentially. And of course, if they completely destroy the stock, it's dropping to 10.5. Earnings due out in a few days. Let's look at stock charts real quick. I'll let you go because I definitely ranted a salty rant for about, I don't know, an hour. I don't know how long I've been talking, but of course, the MACD was steadily climbing. The company was trying to rebound, and then we have the news today, which forces it to drop, and we have the MACD now cross to the downside, so who knows what's going to happen tomorrow. But traders always try to tell me, oh, it's overbought, it's oversold. Well, the RSI is at 28.5, so what? It should see a 10% rebound tomorrow then, based on what you guys tell me. Weekly RSI, back down now, was on its way up to like the mid-40s. Now it's back in the mid-30s. And we can also see the 200-day moving average and the bottom Bollinger Band down here in the 22s. About 22.25, and the 200-day moving average slightly below $23. So who knows? I mean, again, the way we're beating it up, why stop there? So just keep chunking it down. I don't know, maybe we'll see 20, maybe we'll see 17 again. Who knows? Who knows? Just remember, if they come out of this squeaky clean, and they're not guilty of anything, everyone and their brother is going to make a video talking about how undervalued they are. Look at the growth potential. Oh, they think, in the technicals, we can get back to this level of price act. That's bullshit. 2,000 plus a share. My original price target, I was one of the first to say it. Here at $1,200, I believe I personally put a price target at $2,400 a share, which would be $240 now, which would be roughly a 700% profitable gain from this level over the longer term if the company is found of no wrongdoing. But again, even if they are found guilty of some slight accounting issues, then just like we saw in 2017, 2018, it's probably going to suck for a little bit in the short term, but over the longer term, the company grew like an absolute freaking beast. And that's why, even if I hear that news, I'm probably expecting the same thing to happen over the next 3, 4, 5 years. But I spoke way too long. And again, I'm not really taking it personally because, again, I'm not involved in SMCI. Believe it or not, I do not have a position in SMCI. But just how it's moving along, the terminology being used. I laid out again the argument, the fact that no other tech company gets investigated. No one wanted to look at the lowball estimates for NVIDIA, the surging AI demand coming from Dell, right? None of that's an issue. We don't need a report. We don't need an investigation. SMCI, though, they're hiring friends and family. They may have done business with Russia. Get them. We got to get them. So that's why, again, in my opinion, I'm not buying it. Until it hits the tape, I'm not buying it. And until the company actually admits that wrongdoing, I can't buy into it. And in my opinion, I still see value here. And again, if I'm the only person saying that, then whatever, so be it. So be it. Over here, I was right. I was a genius. It was a great call. Right? Now all of a sudden, we're just pushing the company to the wayside because of a few things that Hindenburg said. Again, the white knight of Wall Street is coming to save us. Highly, highly doubtful. Because before this report came out, everyone wanted to own it and wish they got involved. Now all of a sudden it sucks, right? It doesn't really work like that. But that's pretty much it. I'll end it there. We can come back and do an update, I guess, after the company post earnings. I think Monday, Tuesday next week. So we'll keep an eye on it. But that's pretty much it. I'll end it there. Once again, this is Stocks by the Numbers. I want to thank you for stopping by. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, drop it down in the comments section. I'm usually pretty quick to reply. Thumbs up algorithm helps me get more eyes on the channel. And of course, subscribe to the channel. That is our handshake agreement. That is how you help me help you. But of course, more importantly, moving forward, like I always say, I understand that markets are rocky, they're volatile, they're very uncertain. So I want to wish all of you success. I hope everyone makes a couple of dollars. Thank you for your time. Have a good day.